So all I can say is, wow. This video contains spoilers for The Flash Season 2 Episode 20 and possibly beyond, as I'm going to be making some predictions and exploring some theories. So there are a few key points that I want to jump right into. Firstly, what the heck happened to Barry when Wells tried to recreate the incident? Wally and Jesse were hit with the particle accelerator. Are they going to become speedsters? And Henry Allen tells us his mother's maiden name is Garrick. So Barry appears to disintegrate right before our eyes. He then explodes into a cloud of energy which travels through Star Labs and goes through Wally and Jesse and seemingly knocks them both into a coma. But don't worry, of course we know that Barry isn't dead and in all likelihood has merged with the Speed Force. Now this isn't the first time in the show we've seen a speedster seemingly disintegrate. The same thing happened with Trajectory when she overdosed on the Velocity Serum and ran so fast that she seemingly disintegrated. However, we now know that this probably also wasn't the case, and also like Barry has probably become one with the Speed Force. Now in the comics, Barry is actually the second Flash after Jay Garrick, but it was explained in Flash Rebirth number 4 that it was actually Barry Allen that created the Speed Force when his accident happened that gave him his speed. During the events of Crisis on Infinite Earths, Barry was captured by the Anti-Monitor and dies while destroying the antimatter cannon. His soul is absorbed into the Speed Force, which is essentially another universe in itself. When Bart Allen, Barry's grandson, and Wally West were battling Superboy in Infinite Crisis, we discovered that Barry Allen wasn't dead, but that he was living in the Speed Force, and then was permanently resurrected and brought back to the physical universe from the Speed Force during the events of Final Crisis. I think the show is going to draw from these storylines in the comics, so don't worry everyone, Barry isn't gone for good. However, he has merged with the Speed Force, something hopefully Team Flash are going to figure out, and then figure out how to ping Barry and get him back to the physical world. So it almost seemed that the Speed Force cloud that Barry merged or disintegrated into passes through Wally West and Jesse Wells. Now of course we know from the comics that Wally West initially becomes Kid Flash, as he was struck by lightning when his idol the Flash was explaining to him which chemicals made him the Flash. The lightning struck the chemicals and bathed Wally in them, giving him his speed. Of course when Barry Allen's soul was in the Speed Force following the events I described, which occurred while battling the Anti-Monitor during Crisis on Infinite Earths, Wally took up the mantle of the Flash. And hopefully the show will go a similar route, at least for an episode, in that they will all think Barry is dead and Wally will take over as the Flash, with the help of Jesse Wells, aka Jessie Quick. Now the show has been referencing her as Jessie Quick for quite a while, so it's probably not going to be difficult for Cisco to come up with that as her name, Jessie Quick. I'm so happy that they're finally giving her speed. In the comics, Jessie was the daughter of the Golden Age heroes Johnny Quick and Liberty Bell. She obtained her connection to the Speed Force by uttering the formula 3x29yz4a, which was discovered by her father on ancient papyrus. When they want to revert to normal speed, they simply utter Z25Y2AB6. So you can see on the show they're going a completely different route and rather making her get her speed in a more traditional got struck by lightning kind of way. So this is all incredibly exciting. As we know, Zoom has taken over Central City on Earth 1. The scene of him snapping several police officers' necks was, I'm sure, terrifying for the citizens of Central City as it was broadcast to them. Caitlin is not really having any influence on Zoom at all. However, he does still seem to be conflicted somewhat, as he continually has flashbacks to his childhood and clearly recognizes that he's acting like his father. A monster. So before Barry finally makes the decision to let Wells try and recreate the accident that gave him his speed, Iris finally confesses her love to Barry, and she's clearly shattered when she thinks he's dead. And to be clear, I think Barry is dead, but his soul still exists in the Speed Force. Team Flash are going to have to figure out how to bring him back, or he's going to have to try bring himself back. And then of course another massive piece of information was very casually revealed by Barry's dad, and that is the fact that Henry's mother's maiden name is Garrick. In other words, the unmarried surname of Barry's grandmother is Garrick. So this of course gives us some clues as to who the real Jay Garrick is. And I think it's more likely than ever that the real Jay Garrick is not the doppelganger of Hunter Zolomon, but is rather somehow related to Barry Allen. So bear in mind that I think that the real Jay Garrick is definitely the man in the iron mask. I think that the man in the iron mask is definitely a version of Barry or his father, possibly from another Earth where perhaps Barry's grandmother was never married, so his father Henry took his mother's surname, Garrick, instead of his father's, Allen. And so it's possible that on this other Earth, where Henry's surname then becomes Garrick, that Barry's surname is also Garrick. And it's possible that Barry, now having the surname Garrick, has a twin brother whose name is James. In other words, Jay Garrick. who possibly, instead of Barry, becomes the Flash of their world. Now, this is quite a far out theory, but I definitely think that the man in the iron mask is the real Jay Garrick and is going to turn out to be a version of Barry or Barry's father. So it's extremely exciting that the show is going full comic book and embracing the concept of the Speed Force. I wonder if Wally or Jesse are going to have to enter the Speed Force to pull Barry back. Maybe that's just wishful thinking. And they could possibly introduce the concept of the negative Speed Force. Could this explain Zoom's blue lightning? Is Zoom perhaps drawing on the negative Speed Force, similar to how Professor Zoom, aka Eobard Thawne in the comics, created the negative Speed Force as explained in Flash Rebirth? It's going to be an awesome next few weeks and I can't wait to find out. The next episode of The Flash is directed by Kevin Smith and is entitled The Runaway Dinosaur, which certainly sounds like something Kevin Smith would be attached to. Anyway, Barry will probably return at the end of the episode as Team Flash are going to battle a villain they have faced before, Gerda. And the synopsis also says that Barry is fighting to return to his old life, which, as I said, most likely means that he is in the Speed Force and has to find his way back to the physical world. So there you have it. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like and then share it. If you haven't already, why not check out my Easter egg breakdown and spoilers review of the awesome Captain America Civil War. But be careful if you haven't watched it, as it is filled with spoilers. I post lots of videos every week on comic book, movies, TV, including Star Wars, Game of Thrones, and other blockbusters, so why not subscribe? Thanks again. Cheers for now.